the sports show, of course, the SANFL, mate. The finals are revving up. The team that won it last year, one of my favourites, Norwood, for lots of different reasons. Didn't quite make it. Nearly squeezed in there at the end. I think they scared a few teams along the way. But
I think in 2 or 3 states it's happened to the GFs as well. So.
Geelong, of course, didn't make it this year. And we know that Sydney just limped in. North didn't make it, and Norwood. So there's a bit of a pattern there. Yeah. But it's not the coach's fault because he's here in front of us and we want to be star players. Nick Rokahr and Jade Rawlings join us. Thanks for coming in, fellas.
No worries.
Tough season for you, mate. Frustrating?
I was thinking about this yesterday. It's been a very challenging season. Frustrating with some results along the way, but you can't win every year. And what it took for us to achieve what we got done last year took a lot out of everyone. And it took a while for everyone to be at full fitness at the start of this year, which had an impact. Our season was done pretty much in the first month when we were zipping 4, which led to zipping 8. But one of the more proudest seasons I've had as a coach, because that could have derailed really easily. Yeah. But I kept saying to the players, I'll just commend them for how they stayed in mentally, which is a bit on us as a club for the leadership. But the players hung in mentally, and then we ended up the last 10 games. I think we lose 3 out of the last 10, and left it too late. Damage was done. But it's actually one of the proudest seasons I've had in my reflection because of the way we actually stuck together in the times of adversity.
Hey, mate, let's talk about the adversity. I just want to touch on it. I know it's a really difficult one with Nick Loden. It was tragic, the things that happened, but the club has to go through that process, and it may happen for other organisations and for the people that are watching this. Of course, Nick tragically lost his life. But what advice would you give to clubs and people that have to move through that?
I don't know if I have advice, Phil, but I know that what worked was how we supported each other, and unfortunately, when I was informed, my job was to let the leaders know, and this unbelievable young man next to me, when I told him, his mind went straight to how I am, which blew me away. That some of my players and our young men actually were worried about how I was going to be, which then drove me as their coach to make sure the whole group's okay. But as a club, we did it together. You hear the call stick together, but I don't think people fully know what it means. And then when it was really required, our group and our club stayed together. And to be frank, I haven't had the time to reflect on how we've actually navigated our way through the last month with all the things that unfortunately come with the passing of Nick. But I think we'll all look back and realise that it was because we were bound together that allowed us at least, because life had to go on. That's the hardest bit, Phil and Barry. We had to keep focusing on the competition that we're in after losing a teammate who played in our premiership last year and was in our team in round 9 this year, and a housemate of Nick's. And so it's been this challenging thing I've been through in my career, and I'm really proud of our club, but most of all our players for how they've been able to rally, stay on task and complete a footy season whilst dealing with the challenge of Nick not being their teammate and their mate anymore.
It's such a tough industry, mate, isn't it, really? I mean, I know a couple of lads who had mates around when the draft was on that didn't get drafted. You have to be really, really careful with these kids. And what you're talking about, team support, that is so vital to for players' well-being. I mean, that kid that has all his mates around, they all go home and leave him there. He sits there and thinks, what happened? What happened? Yeah,
it's a
tough game.
Because the young men are driven to aspire to get to the highest level of footy they can, and we can't assume that because it didn't go their way that they're okay with it. Nick was driven to play AFL after his Gippsland power years, and still to this season that was something he strove to try and do, was be an AFL player. And in this position, all we can do is try and champion their aspiration and push them to see how they get there. But if and when it doesn't go their way, the fallout is different with each person. And that's why as a club you try and provide an environment where they feel like support numbers, and I'm still playing high level, I enjoy where I'm at, I'm getting support and I'm improving. So it's quite seductive. I feel you've been at the top, and to get there is great, but there are a lot of pitfalls with it as well when you are there. Or everyone thinks they want to get there, but it's not for them. So there's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah. Hey, mate, well done to you and the club. And obviously difficult for you, Nick. We don't need to talk to you about it, mate. Let's talk about the footy season for you, mate. So last year was a great year, mate. You win the premiership, you're feeling pretty good about life, and then this year's nearly the reverse. It's a battle all year, but you nearly got only a couple of games and you're there. Where did it go wrong, mate?
I think obviously, like we touched on just before, like to get to the very end it's so hard to do, and then to win it is even harder, and I think you spend a lot of petrol tickets trying to get there, and obviously very lucky we won it, because you never know when you're going to get back there. But yeah, obviously we had a fair few, like all teams, to get once you're at that point, like you've got a lot of people under duress, and probably get limited opportunities through the pre-season to be fit come round one and whatnot, and that's no excuse by any means, but it's a reality, and we probably struggled with that a little bit, and I think you'd find towards the end of the year, like to be able to get blokes like Callow and Cam Ball back, it sort of helped us a little bit and straightened us up a bit. So
Now let's talk about you. Last year was unbelievable for you. Ankle injury, mate, that most blokes wouldn't have played with. You managed to play really well through it. Did it slow you down in your pre-season coming into this year?
Yeah, it was a bit of a frustrating pre-season for me. I wasn't really able to do too much running till about January, and then even then it was just all straight line running. I could get the Ks up, but yeah, I couldn't really do any physical stuff, which probably hurt me a little bit short term. So yeah.
Just so you know, Baz and I'd be pleased to do any kind of running, mate.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, no, I don't do a lot these days. No. Jane, I've got to say, mate, 7-goal final term on the weekend against Adelaide to win the game, and you won it well. Your last month's probably been pretty good. I mean,
really good.
No worries at all there. That's got to give you a lot of satisfaction, because, I mean, you didn't get a lot of satisfaction from the Adelaide coach, but, hey, that's another story. Well, I'm a bit disappointed.
Well, we'll talk about that later. It's hard for the coaches to talk about that.
I don't want to get any comment here, but anybody who read it would have probably felt the same way.
Yep.
But that's got to be pleasing, because that's a terrific way to finish the season. The blokes have kept their head, and they've gone bang with a 7-goal final term, and knowing that that's it. At the end of that quarter, you're going home.
Yeah, pleasure you raised it, because a lot of people would hear people say, oh, there's a lot to get out of the last game of the year, and the pessimists would say, oh, what can you get out of it? But for our group to the last month, we've been in winning positions, I think up by 6 goals against South, and we almost lose. We're up by the 3 goals late in the last quarter against the Centrals that gets back to the last kick, and then we up by 6 goals against West Adelaide, and they have a shot after the siren to draw it. And then on the weekend, we were 22 points down. And after, I think we got 5 goals up, then we're 22 down.
Yeah.
And then last quarter, going kick 7. It was incredible. It was really powerful footy, and it was great for the players to feel what they can do as a team.
Yeah.
When we play a way that we earn the right to play a powerful way, you don't just get given it. And I think there's a lot to take out of it for the back of the mind about, we left it late, but our best footy stacks up. And I was really pleased with the performance. It was one of the better wins. When McLean, I'm not sure if you saw it, McLean kicked a goal to put us 3 goals up.
Yeah.
That feeling was as close to the grand final side last year for me since I've been at Norwood. That's how good a win it was, for a lot of surrounding circumstances as well. But it was a big win.
Can I ask you about we'll go back again. Can I ask you about the West game? Because the scoreboard said that you were, I think, down, or they were down a point. They kicked a point. They thought they won. It was a draw. Then they kicked a point and thought they won. Were you aware of all that?
I knew at the score was that Gale kicked a point, which must have been with 20 seconds to go, and I thought they were up by a point. But then when they took the mark, the scoreboard hadn't changed. And I thought, we're going to lose this, but I hadn't factored in the Gale thing. So apparently talking to the Westies boys, young Redfern, who marked it, it's not his strong suit to kick over distance. So just got there and we spotted. But we were 6 goals up in the game, and it was probably over the last month. There was the funeral week, and the boys who travelled over went to Traralgon, 200 k's west of Melbourne, and they got over there at 1:30 a.m. They got into Traralgon on Tuesday night, had the funeral. We flew back to Adelaide Wednesday night, and so 7 were over there trying to then play a game. The emotional drain for everyone was probably going to catch up with us, but as my point before, we were 3 games, we were 5 or 6 goals up and got reeled in, and then to be down the way we were and then go the other way, that's where there's a lot of nourishment will come out to be able to hang on to. And a lot of people would misunderstand or not fully appreciate the work that the players will do in these next 2 months to be ready to train properly. You don't just rock up and then hopefully get fit. That's wasted time if you come to the start of pre-season unfit. So we shouldn't have too many surgeries. We've got a mindset of the group that is pretty driven to want to get back to where we were, and missing out September is pretty hurtful, especially when the weather is a bit better, and watching other teams go around, that's probably going to sting the players the most, I think, the next week or 2.
Nick, you won't be watching much footy for the next couple of weeks, will you, mate?
Will I be?
Will you watch any footy other than the AFL, mate? Will you watch the SANFL?
I'm a Tigers owner either, so not too much motivation to watch it in the next couple of weeks. Might give it a break, I reckon. Yeah.
Hey mate, just quickly, you talked about being able to move on, the nourishment that you've gained from this, and we know in sport you've got to move on pretty quickly. Recruiting, I see Mitch Wilkins has announced he's retired, so a couple of players out. How far down the track are you with recruiting? Because it doesn't just, season's over, we'll start. You've been at it for a while.
Yeah, so it's probably an enjoyable part of the job for me, but also a frustrating one because there's no time period with recruiting at this level of footy, with where people are at to make decisions to bring in. So we're engaging with players now to see where they're at moving forward. We've got exit interviews with our players over the next 2 days to find out where they're at. You'd like to think you've got a reasonable pulse as to who wants to go on and who maybe not, but usually get a couple of surprises. So get all the information about our own first and then be able to push to see who else we need to bring in. And you have to have a really good audit on where you're at, what your needs are.
Yep.
And obviously the salary cap we have to comply with as well. So it's a bit to consider, but yeah, we'll be busy.
Yeah, I'd suggest you're okay, Nick, the fact that you're in with the coach, mate. Your exit meeting should be pretty good, mate. I really appreciate your time, boys. I know it's been a difficult, great job by the club to continue. Normally, when you're out of it, you know, most people put the cue in the rack and say we're done, but they're able to keep going. So well done to you, mate. Well done, Nick. So
Thanks, guys.
appreciate your time, fellas.
Well done, guys.
Stay with us. Still plenty to come.